Join me as we welcome Maxima Nsimenta as our keynote address this morning on career guidance, and she is the mind behind the brand, okay? Yeah?
Good morning, leaders of tomorrow. You are a beautiful, energized, and good-looking crowd. Clap for yourselves. That is good. Firstly, I'd like to thank Stanbic for inviting me here and giving me the opportunity to speak with you, our leaders of tomorrow. I'd also like to thank Martin Muhwezi and his group for bringing together all these people, the teachers, students, mentors, into this bootcamp to fulfill the mission empowering the job creators of tomorrow. That is extremely important. So there's an old saying that I'd like to modify a little bit for us this morning. Behind every successful child is a strong and resourceful teacher. So teachers, thank you so much for all you do. And for emphasis, there's an African proverb that says, no matter how big a child is, he cannot deny that he was once carried on the back of a woman. I'll scratch that and replace that with teacher. The greatest doctors, the presidents, name it, anyone, came through the hands of a teacher. So thank you, teachers, for all that you do. Lastly, and most importantly, the students. The ultimate decision for you to work lies on your backs. So, for starters, thank you for being here and participating in all this, for sitting down, and for listening to some of us who are here to mentor you. We can only mentor you when your mind is opened up for us to actually do our job. So thank you, students, for being here. So for the next few moments, I'm going to share some information with you. Some very potent, dangerous, but important information. So stay tuned. Anyway, so by show of hands, how many of you own cats, dogs, or cows? Interesting. That is good. How many of you have ever seen a flea? They're very tiny little insects, right? But they jump as high as Getrich runs in half a second. Like they really jump from down to like almost a meter, right? So there's an experiment that was carried out sometime back where fleas were put in a small jar, a jar that is about this high, right? So these fleas, remember, they jump pretty high. So the moment you put them anywhere, they're trying to escape. They're trying to move on to the next point to suck blood. Right? They're always jumping. So with time, these fleas, which were trying to jump up, ended up giving up simply because there was a lid at the top of the jar. Every time they tried to escape, they got knocked. So they came back down. They continued. A few days, they gave up. They decided to stay down. The jar of the lid was removed. Right? These fleas gave up and decided to stop fighting to get out of the jar. So they lost their chance at freedom simply because they gave up. Young children, life can seem tough, right? The moment you get out of here, even in school, let me not go so far. As you're still in school, things can get to be hard. But it is only when you consistently and with discipline continue to, fly and keep moving that you will strive. So what gives me the privilege and the power to actually come here and talk to you? I once was a student, but I studied at Namagunga for 13 good years. But Namagunga, you were not selling things. Anyway, so I studied in Namagunga for 13 years. P7, I was the best girl in Mukono district. S4, I had, 8 in 8 and 11 points in 10. I was disappointed by literature. I had a D2. S6, I think I got 23 points, went to join government, university, Makerere University, on government scholarship to do electrical engineering, which I also graduated with a first-class degree in electrical engineering. We're only 4 girls. So I have been a student like you. However, electrical engineering wasn't my choice, right? We all know in Africa, the times have changed a bit. Back then, our parents were very core in choosing our direction for growth. So my mother looked through the papers and then saw the highest, the course with the highest points and said, child, you're going to do electrical engineering. So go and apply. That's how I got into electrical engineering. And my mom has this, she has never beaten us. All my life, my mom never raised a stick, hitting Maxima, no, or any of my siblings. But she had that look. Eh? That eye, whereby if you leave school, when the term has ended and you look at your report and you're not either first, second, third, you wish not to go back home. Because she'll just look at you, you'll get the point. So next time you go and work harder, right? So that is the kind of, my dad, I think, beat us twice with these, these compound brooms that sweep outside, those ones with the tiny little things. And he beat us on the legs because we were breaking some trees in the compound. We were climbing, something like that. That's all I remember my parents punishing us for, right? So I grew up in this family where there was no caning, but there was refinement to success, right? My parents came from Kabale back then. They were really poor people. My dad wore goat skin at some point in his life. These parents that walk 8 miles to school, those were that was my dad. It was like really real. So for them getting out of that poverty area to come to Kampala, it was all about educating their children. It is my core belief that education, good education, is important for us to achieve the things for tomorrow. Why do I say this? Because of a good education that I received and the good teachers that I had. Throughout my campus, I was working. I was part of the team that built that electrical car you see our country proud of. I actually designed the DC-DC converter, which is the dashboard, right? That aside, I participated in developing software for the campus. The education that I had exposed me to different things. I was always yearning to learn. Also because, I feared going back home to see my mother disappointed in me. I never want to see what that look is like. I already got enough of those while in school. So it was always a life of learning, and wanting to achieve even more. Anyway, after university, I think I was done with software development. It was enough for me. So I took a break, 8 months, to discover who I was as a person. Unfortunately, in the 8 months, that really didn't happen. I ended up getting to work in the oil and gas industry with a company called Schlumberger. I got to find out about Schlumberger through reading online. I'm an avid reader of international news information. I just like grabbing as much as I can, right? So instead of going onto my phone to look at, there's this young man who likes imitating teachers and laughing at him the whole time, I look for other information or I find out how they do that so that I can do something similar that's relevant to me, right? So that's how I found out about oil and gas, what was happening in Uganda, in Africa, what was the next big thing. So I figured oil and gas is the next big thing. So the question then was, how do I get in there? So quickly, I realized that the biggest industries to get into were Schlumberger, Total, tallow. Total and tallow were big in Uganda. Schlumberger was at the international scale. I didn't want to limit my reach. I didn't want to be like the fleas that only jumped as high as the lead. I needed to jump out, right? If my parents could come from abject poverty in Kabale to the city, and that was their dream, then staying in Kampala was clearly not my dream. I needed to be out of Kampala, right? So Schlumberger, biggest oil and gas industry, was my number one. Meanwhile, I only had 3 choices: Schlumberger, Total, Tallow, in that order. I applied to Tallow, I failed. I applied to Total. There was scholarships that were advertised in the newspapers. So for me, that was my shot. When I go for the interview, I get interviewed. The interviewer tells me, "Madam, young girl, you're brilliant. I think you can pass, but you don't want to study. So I will fail your interview." Imagine being told that. And I was here at the brink of, I needed to do something with my life at that time, because I was starting to get disappointed in the fact that my friends had jobs. Some of my friends had applied to universities abroad and they had gotten scholarships. And here I was in Nsimenta, who had done very well all her life. I wasn't getting anything. So I felt like I was really disappointing myself, disappointing my parents, disappointing everyone. And that's one of the worst feelings you can ever have. But it shouldn't deter you from progress. So I kept on wishing and hoping for the next best thing. Anyway, the interviewer rejects my interview, cancels it. I failed. He was like, "If there's a job, we shall call you. I think you will do good at a business development job." That's what he told me. So I let go. I went out of the interview room. 2 weeks later, true to his word, he called me and he said, "We have a job offer for you. 4 positions from the MD in Total, E&P Uganda." I was the joint ventures manager, managing the relationship between Tallow, Total, and Sinok, which was really good. For me, that was a huge step. In comparison, I was earning better than my friends, most of them at the time. So it was a nice step up for me. I felt good. But it wasn't enough. My dream was Schlumberger. I needed to be on that scene. So yes, I excelled at my job for sure, but I kept on looking for more. So an opportunity came where Schlumberger was advertising. Meanwhile, many companies go to universities advertising for jobs because they want to recruit young, fresh graduates or interns. So you have to always be in touch with your teachers, with your lecturers for such opportunities. So there was an opportunity, I applied, boom, I get into Schlumberger. 2.5 years, I'm posted as an expatriate in Congo. Plus, we used to travel a lot. Oil and gas has money. When you're an expatriate, it is nice money. It's good money. So we used to travel around the world, working, learning. The work was also really hard. There are some times when we'll be out installing rigs, right? For 3 days in a row. You're not sleeping because you need to get the job done. In Schlumberger, you make a mistake, you pay for it, you're fired. It is purely merit-based. And the mistakes cost thousands of dollars. So we had to be meticulous and pay extreme attention to detail. There's nothing like, "Oh, my boss, I was sleeping." No. You have your paycheck, they cut it off, you pay for your error, right? And then you move on. So you can't afford to make mistakes. Otherwise, the company loses in time of the boats staying out there on the platforms, and it was very expensive. There were some boats who would hire for about $100,000 a day or $500,000 a day, depending on the type of rig. So for you to do a poor job just because you were slacking and then you make the company pay for that, it was not heard of, right? We had to be perfect at the job. So that's the training I got for 2.5 years. But the thing is, while I was in Congo, I quickly realized, no, I had relaxed hair. That's how Livara started. I had my relaxed hair. It was, big, it was good, it was nice, it was lovely. So I'm in Congo, it's time to relax, doing retouch after 3 months. But when I got to this salon, they quickly tell me that, oh, we cannot work on your hair. There were black girls working in those salons. They were owned by French people. It was in Congo, an African country. And you tell me you cannot work on my hair. How dare you? Right? Anyway, I moved on, went to the next salon. Same thing. At the third salon, I was pissed. So the ladies saw that, and then one of them recommended, Madam, go to the, near the market area, a few kilometers away. They shall work on you there. I go to a barber shop, shave the head. My hair was shorter than your hair. I shaved it all off. So I went out for lunch. This was during lunch hour, meanwhile. I go out with my hair, I come back with a bald head. People thought I had run mad. It was not uncommon to find people who run mad in those in the expatriate field. Anyway, so I tell people what had happened. They were like, it's okay, we understand you. Go to the field. So anyway, 2 months down the road, my hair is growing. And I realize I need to look good and take care of it. So I start, by buying things. The major things on the market were Indian oils. They don't penetrate, they stay on the hair. So they don't really moisturize the hair. They're not made for our hair. Because Indian hair is light. The kind of penetration they need is different from mine. So I tried other products here and there. I was experimenting. I'm a scientist. Things failed. So during my trips abroad, I go looking out for products. I was earning $10,000 a month, average, so I could afford whatever product was there. So when we go looking for products, I realized that the most selling products were those that were marketed to be from Africa. So it has coconut oil from Mombasa. It has shea butter from Ghana. Argan oil from Morocco. Egypt. Like Africa was the thing. But none of them were made on our home ground. Nothing was being made here. So I tell my sister about it. My elder sister is a doctor and she's also my business partner. She tells me, but Maxi, stop complaining. You go back home, the shea butter is there, go and make products. So with that information, I ask for leave for vacation. I get 2 weeks. I come to Uganda. That was in November 2013. I come to Uganda, borrow my mother's car. She had some car we had RAV2, whose windows could not go up. It was a car that you use around, right? And I was going to Teso region where there's dust. Anyway, so I borrowed that thing. We move. The dust that hit me. Anyway, I just got into the RAV4, decided to go east, looking for shea butter. I told Uganda, amaze me. So I drove. I didn't have a destination. I was just looking for shea butter, doing market studies. I was alone in my car at that time. So on driving, I get to Sorority, I get scared because I didn't know the language, I didn't know the people. So I call someone to help me out. They give me someone. We start looking around and I realize that there is the shea trees that are available in Uganda. So I develop my business plan, do whatever it is that I need to do. And I realized there's potential. It was a $2 billion industry. But how much was Africa getting? A penny. A small fraction from $2 billion. Africa was not benefiting. Yet the shea tree grows only in Africa. For me, that was painful. I am very much moved by things where Africa is losing. Why? Because for me, we must win. So from that, anyway, I decided to, when the market study was proof for me enough, I did my business plan. I had a business case. For sure, there was no high-quality product on the market for natural hair, African hair, made in Africa at the time, right? And moreover, in the large scale. I was looking at products like the L'Oreals, the Chanels, all those Bath and Body Works. I needed a product at that level, made by us here in Uganda, for us, Africa, and the world. For me, it was clear there was nothing. So I had my way out. That day, I concluded that I needed to leave Schlumberger. From my business plan, in order for me to get a business license here in Uganda, I needed to raise $75,000. Then I needed at least $50K to start my business. I worked out my life. I knew in 4 years, for sure, I should have made back the $50,000. If I fail, I come back to employment. So I decided to start saving my money. I needed to go around the world. Exposure is key. If you do not know what you're fighting against, you will only fight so much. So I needed to see the world, be part of that world, experience wealth, experience goodness, come back and replicate it here. So I purposed to go and stay in the Baj Al Arab. It was the best hotel at the time. I needed to feel what wealth was like. Because when I come back home to my job, my business, I needed to have that to motivate me to do more. Because I have experienced it, I will want to experience it again. Right? So exposure is extremely key. And then also I was saving. 1.5 years down the road, I've saved my money. I buy a ticket back home on a Sunday. I write my resignation letter. I go to my boss on Monday. Tell him I'm leaving on Friday. Ticket is booked. I'm going to start my business back home. Say, but Maxima, have you tried it? Have you been doing this? I was like, yes. In 2013, I went home. I did a market survey. It was good. I had also been engaging with my elders, my grandmother, who introduced me to Uganda Industrial Research Institute. So I had gotten incubation. And I had been sending money back home for product testing. So the moment they had gotten a product that works, I was like, yeah, now let me go home and market. I was moving from a $10,000 a month job to nothing. I didn't know whether it would work out in actuality, but on paper, I knew it would work out. I'm a scientist. Numbers don't lie. So I left. And I bet on myself. I had the good education, and I had proven time and again that when you work hard in school, you pass, you win. I had broken all records that they could break in the education system. So if I had sustained all that with a very hard curriculum, surely life shouldn't be so hard. That's what I had. So I bet on myself. So I came back. 2015, May, I was in Uganda to start the hustle. We had done a website. We had done Facebook. I didn't know about Instagram at that time. I think I wasn't that exposed. So we were pushing. We grew from just selling things online. Now we have 6 stores with 3 niche salons, 2 in Kampala, 1 in Bara, selling very high quality, natural and organic products for hair, for African hair. We have ventured more into skin products as well. We are listed on Amazon in the USA. We are selling our products, in the US. Next month, we shall set up in Kenya, Nairobi, right? Because I bet on myself in the system that the teachers here put me through. So, I have another African proverb from Ghana. Like I said, I believe in Africa. The elders of the village are the boundaries. The elders, I'll replace that with the teachers, the parents, the Martins who have organized this. You are the boundary to progress. They have taken time to expose you to more. They have lifted your boundary. There's a very big difference between someone who is studying from the most remote village school in Padere and you. The boundaries they have are very different from the boundaries you have. Your boundaries have been lifted. They have been extended. So you are your own cause of failure should you not push beyond the boundaries that have been opened up for you. Okay? Another African proverb from Cameroon. There are no shortcuts to the top of the palm tree. A palm tree is very linear. It's one stick with the leaves at the top. You can only go up one way, and you only come down two ways. Either you jump off or you come along the stem. So there's only one way to the top. Discipline, hard work, and well, good luck sometimes. So you must put in the work. Another proverb. They say proverbs are very good. Read a proverb a day. You will open up your wisdom and mental doors. There's a Congolese proverb that says, no matter how full the river, it still wants to grow. I want to add on to it with the phrase, and the river will only flow into a lake, a sea, or an ocean. To conclude, I will read to you what I wrote. Back in the day, long, long before you and I were even ever thought of, before our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents were born, in 1664, was birthed the idea of the acoustic string phone, or as it was popularly called, the lover's telephone. The earliest known experiments were recorded by a British physicist called Robert Hooke. What is an acoustic phone? When I was young, we used to play with these plastic cups. You know, you get a plastic cup, you put a string, and then you talk to someone else. And then when you want to talk to other people, they also add strings so that you can talk. And the thing is that you could hear the other person. Have you ever, I hope I'm not too old, have you ever played that game? You have, right? So those acoustic phones were the origin of the telephone. And they were documented, discovered in 1664. I emphasize documented because someone discovered Lake Victoria, but it actually existed, I think, before 1664. So anyway, a couple of 100 years later, in 1876, the first electromagnetic telephone patent was granted to Sir Alexander Graham Bell. You have heard of him. I remember I studied that name when I was in school. So, of course, he had a number of other people participate in the invention. It wasn't a one-man show, but he filed for the patent. So, in 1876, for sure, there was a record to show that the first electromagnetic phone was formed. These are phones whereby you had to have a speaker and then something on the ear. So when someone is when you're talking, then you have to wait for someone to talk, and then you listen to them. So it was one phone but with two pieces. That was the beginning of the electromagnetic phones, using electromagnetic signals for communication. So these phones had to be connected. Yes. Now these phones also had to be connected through an electrical wire. So that piece where you're talking from had to have an electrical wire connection that goes on to a manual switchboard. These ones I think you have never seen. So there was a big room whereby if you needed to talk to someone had to go and get your wire, put it and connect to the wire that has the connection of the other person. So there was always someone, you know, like there are those movies of the World War where there's a switchboard where someone is always. It's difficult to imagine. I know you're so young God, you were born in the 2000s. But anyway, imagine it. For me to talk to you, I need to have a wire from here to there. So if, say, someone else has called and they want to talk to me, they have to remove that wire and put it in the other port so that person talks to me. So there were wires connecting. Fast forward, come 1927, the first transatlantic phone call was made from the United States to the United Kingdom. One long wire finally crossed, and that connection was made. Then from there, we had the dial-up phones. So there were these phones. The thing, first of all, was big. It sits on a table. Now, for you to call, you had to put your finger in some hole and then dial, right? For sure, I think you have seen those phones or read about them somewhere. So to make 07752 something, you have to go 0, and then it goes, and then 7, and then it goes back. 8, 5 minutes making one phone call. But the thing is, we started from the acoustic phone, then to the two-piece phone, now to this dial-up phone. So the river of the phones was growing. You get? It's a small river, starts like a stream, but it grows. 1973, the first handheld mobile phone was made. This phone weighed 2 kilos. I think this is about maybe 600 grams. Imagine holding a phone that is 2 kilos. Hello. And you're calling someone. That was the first mobile hand phone. And it was demonstrated in New York City by John F. Mitchell and Martin Cooper from the Motorola company. So we've come from the UK. We are now in the US. The river is growing. Development is not only centered in one continent. It's moving, but it's the phone river. Are you with me? We are growing this river. That was 1973. 1979. There's a company in Japan called the Nippon Telegraph and Telephone Company. It launched the world's first cellular network, meaning we not only did not need wires, but we could easily communicate between these 2-kilogram phones easier, right? In a properly coordinated cellular network, the likes of the MTN, Airtel were formed, right? We are developing. The river is growing. The river is now getting tributaries. We've come from the UK, we've gone to the US, we are now in Japan. Those are many tributaries coming along. By then, phones were mainly used for voice communication and only had buttons and a small little space where you could see the numbers and the network availability. In 2007, magic happens. A man develops a phone with a touch screen through which you can listen to music, watch videos, and also surf the internet all in one. That man was called Steve Jobs. I'm sure you've heard of him. That was the iPhone 1. Okay? It wasn't just a mobile telephone only. It was a phone, a music and video device, and an internet service provider. You no longer needed to go to the computer to surf. You could have the full experience on your phone. So Apple in the US changed the mobile phone business completely. It changed the telephone industry. There's a fun fact. From 1983 to 2014, worldwide mobile phone subscriptions grew to over 7 billion within a few years. Okay? Enough to provide one for every person on this earth. Well, there are people with 5 phones and the rest, I think they account for the for the most. But the mobile phone subscriptions from 1983 to 2014 grew to 7 billion. We're now entering an ocean. Okay? This Fawn River had now securely grown into an ocean. But remember, the depth of an ocean keeps burrowing deeper every day. You know, have you been at the ocean or at the lake shore? And then the water comes, brings sand, and then takes it away, right? And recently, you've seen how the river, the lake Victoria has grown. Very, like it has risen, right? So the ocean or the lakes not only keep burrowing deeper, but they also grow on the surface. It's no longer just a phone ocean, it's now a telecommunications ocean. It's no longer a river. And today, we also have Ugandans as well contributing to that ocean opportunity. You've heard of Chipakash. You've seen Kansime, proudly associated. And those who love music, Banner Boy. He's all over Kampala, decorated. You know? Chipakash was established in 2018 by a Ugandan, Ham Serunjoji, and his Nigerian friend. The fintech startup raised $250 million, not shillings, dollars in 2021, and it's valued at over $2 billion. Billion. And who is at the helm of that? A person who was born on this ground, just like you and me, and studied in our schools, went through our teachers. And he has a company that is valued at $2 billion. It started as a river of an acoustic phone. It's an ocean to which you can contribute. Not only that, you've heard of Rocket Health? The phone. You can get a doctor and your healthcare through your phone, wherever you are. This started as what? An acoustic thing, a play toy that you and I have all used. Dr. Musinguzi and his friends, Dr. Mark Bwanika, Dr. William Lubega, Dr. Hope Achiro, raised $5 million to grow their company. These are Ugandans, just like you and me. Meanwhile, Livara products can be purchased off Rocket Health. Kalango. But the telecommunications ocean is so deep, so wide, and you and me can now creatively contribute to it through adding content to platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Pinterest. It's wide, okay? It's endless. You can sell services and products and make a killing off your phone, okay? Remember, I told you that our first marketing campaign was through our website and Facebook, right? Where we're making peanuts. But now we have branches all over the place. But it started from the phone. I will conclude by sharing another African proverb from Somalia. It says, "He who does not seize opportunity today will be unable to seize tomorrow's opportunity." You have received this quality education as a backbone, a foundation for your future. Use it to always be alert and on the lookout for opportunities to grow. Don't waste it on only entertaining yourself idly through idle gossip on WhatsApp or laughing at someone else's TikTok jokes. Learn how to create the jokes, create them, and let them pay you for your content. The world is full of endless opportunities, and guess what? We were born creators, apparently in the image of God himself. Do you know that God created this world like that? Steve Jobs is a human being, just like you. The richest man in the world today was born on African soil. Elon Musk, he's South African. Yes, he may be white, but the thing is, he was born on a ground we all share. African soil. And he's the wealthiest in the world. So what stops you from thinking beyond your own set boundaries to achieve and be big? So we were born creators, you were born a creator, so go be one. Thank you.